Wandering Night, a low-vision view of the world. Exploring Palm Springs, California, and Joshua Tree National Park. 2005, Mom, Dad, and I went to Palm Springs to try a different area for our early winter day hikes. Over the past 15 to 20 years, we've typically gone to Tucson, but we decided to try something new in 2005. The trip didn't knock our socks off, but it wasn't a bad trip. Times change, and we decided in January of 2018 to return to Palm Springs. We spent 10 days in Palm Springs and Joshua Tree doing day hikes. We also explored Palm Springs itself, although you won't see any of that on this video. And I have to say, our second visit was much better than our first. There is a lot to see and do in the region. And, of course, it's a lot warmer than here in Michigan. We're about a little less than a mile and a half in on the Mecacopia Trail. And this is a multi-use trail. We've already had a couple motorcycle bikers and an ATV rider pass us by. No overhikers yet. This is what it's been looking like. Slightly cloud-streaked skies. Temperature a little over 80 degrees, and there's been a breeze which has helped.
I was up once to go to the bathroom.
This is the Salton Sea. A little hard to see, but it's out there. Scan to the left.
More. That's your best view.
We're about 2.5 miles in.
Second day you forgot.
We're about 3 miles in, and this is what we've been hiking along. The last little bit of the Mecacopia Trail. As you can see, this last little bit's actually in shade, but it's really the only stretch of any significance that is or has been. You can start moving again. This is an unimproved, or at least somewhat improved, road into the Painted Box Canyon. This is a popular area. I've got a feeling that a lot of people climb in here. We're entering into the Painted Box Canyon. Looks like it's going to start out on pretty hard-packed sand and slick rock. Quite a lot of people at the entrance. This is certainly going to be a different hike today. We are in the Mecca Hills once more. But unlike the Mecca-copia Jeep Trail, this is near the entrance of the Mecca Hills Wilderness. And we're heading away from the Salton Sea. Every now and again, there's a bit of plant life.
I don't see any cairn.
We've seen some lupin and other types of bushes. We had a micro, maybe even a nano sun shower. And now we're following this narrower side canyon. Whoop! Low rock. This is a pretty remarkable space. After twisting and turning our way through Little Painted Box Canyon, we came to a dry waterfall. There's a very faint trail just before the waterfall you take to get over it, and then an even fainter trail up a lot of loose rock, climbing up to the ridge that will show you both Little Painted Box Canyon and Big Painted Box Canyon. Climbed up a ridge. There's a faint trail way off in the distance. Beyond all these canyons is the Salton Sea. We can just make it out. Well, maybe Mom and Dad can make it out easily. I can just make it out with my binocular. It's way in the distance.
We're having lunch, Ken.
Okay. We are now into Big Painted Box Canyon. And to get in here, after the climb up the faint rocky trail, we went down a cliffside. Not nearly as far, but a sandier kind of stone made the footing a little tougher. We must have had 40 people pass through our lunch spot. We think most of them...
3.25 miles.
Oh, well, there you know how far we've gone now. We think most of them took the other route through Little Painted Box Canyon that involved some ladders. Zebra rock.
One more ladder. They're gonna get caught again. That's okay. You'll get them out. Keep coming. Attaboy. That's good. Very good. And one more.
And one more.
Perhaps if you do this hike on a weekday instead of a weekend, it'll be less crowded. We had lots of people, especially in Big Box Canyon, including teenagers that clearly felt they were immortal, doing silly stuff on rocks. This morning we're in the Coachella Valley Preserve, and we're going to hike to the Pushawalla Oasis. There are other trails in this preserve, which we may decide to do at some point. The McAllen Trail and I believe Moon Trail. We understand actually take you through more ecological zones than the Pushawalla Canyon Oasis Trail will. 3 versus 2. And we might do that at some point, but we're doing this in part because there was a large group.
Well, I'm just looking for tracks in the dirt.
Yeah, maybe the guy over there.
Okay.
Isn't that what the book said?
I don't know what the book says.
We have a lot of ridge walking to do. There's the Coachella Valley. And the southeasterly direction. For the first 2 miles and a little bit, we were up on either an open desert or on the ridge. And now we've climbed down into this canyon area here. Sandy, rock-strewn trail. That's where we've come from. And that's where we're going. Can't really see that much, I know. This has to be the smallest stream I've ever seen flowing.
If we take you.
I think this is Horseshoe Palms. I'm not sure if it's called Horseshoe Palms Oasis or just Horseshoe Palms, but
There you go. I don't understand.
we have a little stream.
Well, we go back to visitor center. I would assume they have like a tour schematic. This is
It's very pretty in here.
this is the name of where the hiking club, the Coachella Valley Hiking Club. That's its name.
There's just a little water running through it. You get a lot more activity. Spoke earlier and saying that by the little stream that was Horseshoe Palms, that was actually a grove of palms that we saw from the ridge line, and where the stream was is actually the Pushawalla Oasis. And now we're gonna work our way out back to the visitor center. We've got some additional directions.
Not to follow the riverbed. We're walking on what looks like a trail.
Although, didn't they say to follow the riverbed? So, have to find yourself asking the question, how'd this car wreck happen here? This is the trail we're climbing up as we head back to the visitor center. The ridge you see in front of us is what we followed on the way out to the Pushwala Oasis. We're walking now back to the visitor center. We definitely did something different last time we were out here 13 years ago. Or maybe the trail was just a lot more rugged. But the oasis area is really quite pretty. The palms are rather special. So big. Are these? Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Are these what sort of bushes are these? White? Are these sages or brittle? These are brittle bushes.
Or they're sage.
This is most definitely a different sort of area. It's a little swampy in here. We've got these palm trees, big fronds, Mexican fan palms, I think is what they're called. There's a bit of a swampy smell in here. We are back in the Thousand Palms area. This is where Pushawalla Oasis is, but today we're walking the trails, the McCallum and Moon trails. And we'll see where this 4-mile loop takes us. We understand there's 3 eco zones. I guess it's a riparian forest, a desert, and something in between. We've definitely moved into a more desert environment of the Coachella Valley Wilderness Preserve.
The most commonly seen desert mammals here are cottontails, jackrabbits, and antelope ground squirrels. Most others are nocturnal. There are small rodents that spend their evenings gathering seeds, predators such as coyote, the gray fox, and the bobcat that spend the night hunting. Several species of bat hunt over the desert and drink from the pond. During the day, most mammals retreat to their burrows or the shade of the palms to escape the heat and the blazing sun and to conserve moisture. And we are approaching the McCallum Pond.
This is McCallum Pond. We've climbed up this, I'm guessing this is a sand dune. Coming into view, I think that must be McCallum Pond. We explored a little further into the canyons of this stony desert before returning to the visitor center and passing once again through the riparian forest. There are plenty of trails in this preserve, but we still think Pushawalla Oasis is the best. I don't see it, but clearly down there is a rushing stream. We're at the start of the Murray Canyon hike, I believe is what we're doing. The 4-mile out and back hike to the Seven Falls on land that is owned and managed by the Agua Caliente band of the Cahilla Indians. We aren't all that far away from the stream, Murray Creek, I believe, and wow, there's clearly a lot of activity out here. Things have changed. We're just a few hundred feet away from the active stream. Now it's possible we'll be crossing it again and we have a waterfall that we might get to see in about a mile and a half. But how quickly things change when water is readily available. Coming! That's Murray Creek down there. If it is, we understand it's a seasonal creek. Nice flow. Heading into this little oasis. Generally described as a moderate trail, the most challenging thing we expected to find were the dozen or so stream crossings that we would encounter on the way to the Seven Falls. Go. It's hard to get a sense of how big these palms are. I'm guessing we're coming up to our 4th stream crossing.
Congratulations. Oh my, that's a big balloon.
I believe this is Seven Sisters Waterfall, or maybe it's the Sisters Waterfalls. I'm not sure if there's a waterfall behind that rock. The climb to get to the waterfalls is a bit steep, but short. It actually would turn out to be harder to climb up the rocky slope than down it. We've got to climb down into that canyon there. It's going to be a big pain in the butt.
Hello.
I don't see it under the bush.
We've decided to do an afternoon hike in Taquitos Canyon. which is
I just saw them fly by.
part of the
I just saw some fly by.
Agua Caliente band of the, I'm going to mispronounce this, Cahuilla, I think.
Cahuilla.
What?
Cahuilla.
Cahuilla?
I think it's how it's pronounced. Cahuilla.
Cahuilla. Indian
Not the how it's
nation.
pronounced.
Like Murray Canyon, there's an entrance fee here. Murray Canyon was $7, I believe, for the seniors, and I was $9. Here it's $12.50. We've already seen a couple little hummingbirds. Well, Mom and Dad did anyway. And we'll see what this canyon's like. It's supposed to be an easy, pretty short hike. About a mile in and a mile back.
But I can hear the water.
Good. I was going to ask you about that. Do you see it? It's got to be right down in there, right?
Where it's greener and bushier, but I didn't see anything there.
We're hearing quite a lot of bird activity. Several different
0.25 miles.
calls. I have no idea what they are. They have a twitter, a descending scale, a high-pitched wee sound. Sort of a I hope we picked that up.
I saw the bees.
Hummingbirds and bees. I'm sure a river of this size must have a name. Looking downstream. So in this mountainous cliff, there were sheep. And somewhere up there,
I don't see it necessarily in your picture, but it should be there.
should be a sliver of
It's
moon.
rising as we talk. It's almost like it's on the way to be a half. So it's more than a sliver. And if you keep holding it up there, an airplane is coming. An airplane contrail, or whatever they're called,
Yeah, that's what they're called.
is coming. Oh, I see the sheep moving on the lower level. It's going down. And supposedly it has a baby. A bigger one and a littler one. But it's the same color right now. It's only because I saw them moving.
Yep.
So maybe it'll be in your video.
Maybe.
In the video?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is called Taquit's Fall. This is Cactus Spring Trail. We climbed into the Santa Rosa Mountains to do this trail. It's a moderately hard trail, and we didn't go all that much farther than Horsethief Creek. But it's still pretty. I just don't have much video to show for it. The trail's been trending down, with occasional little ups. This is a lot of what we've been walking through. Here we are in Joshua Tree National Park. Anyone seen any Joshua trees?
Not yet.
We're just gonna do a couple of short hikes on this What'd you say?
The rocks are so odd looking.
I thought you said you saw a rabbit.
Well, we did.
Oh,
Sitting right here. Oh, no, it's gone. Those jackrabbits. Look at that. Where do you see those jackrabbits? It's water in the desert. Water is vital to survival in the desert. Bands of Chemehuevi, Serrano, and Cahuilla Indians laid out their trails between water holes. Ranchers, miners, and homesteaders stored water behind cement dams. 100 years ago, this area was a more lush range where cattle grazed on galleta grass and drank their fill of clear water. When annual rainfall decreased, cattle ranching moved on. True Mojave Desert survivors, Chala, top pocket for me, Chola, how do we pronounce that word?
Choya.
Choya, Joshua trees, Mom's got one, lizards, and hawks remained, adjusting to diminishing water. Joshua Tree National Park was set aside to preserve the desert life forms you can see along the 1.1 mile Baker Dam Loop Trail. As you walk the trail, look for signs of differences brought about by the presence or absence of water.
this is the Barker Dam Loop Trail. Back in the 1800s, this region got considerably more rain than it does today. It got 10 inches or maybe even a bit more rain per year back then. And these days, it gets 2 or so inches, maybe 5 in a big year. So in the 1800s, they could raise cattle back here, and there were a lot of grasses. Not so much now, but there's still plenty of life. I mean, we're seeing different types of yucca, some desert type oak. They're called, it starts with a T, I don't remember now, turbino or something like that. Oak. I've heard some birds twittering. It's this is an interesting little trail, an interpretive trail.
The dam is what made the lake.
Right.
So at the visitor center, you have to ask, how many years has it been since it's been
Never been at that height.
We see a water line on these rocks that's quite a bit higher than the lake.
Well, even it's interesting, even around that way, you see an edge of green along the shoreline.
Right.
So the water has been up there at some point to be able to create the green, grassy, mossy type section.
We just passed by some cat's claw bush.
Those nest-like things that we've been seeing in those trees, Johnny,
Yeah.
aren't really nests. That's flowering.
Yeah.
Those are the acacia. I was looking carefully to see if I could see thorns on the flowering part.
And the reason I'm not shooting the video by the cat's claw bush is because there are a bunch of bees there. No reason to get stung. This in some ways feels like the most lively hike we've done so far. I know there were a lot more foliage yesterday on the Cactus Spring Trail in the Santa Rosa Mountains, but somehow this feels livelier. We've seen a jackrabbit and a chipmunk, heard several birds.
Another side.
barely visible up there is some type of a raptor. Gazing out, looking for a meal. We've got solar panels. And we've got wind turbines.
Aquifer. Yeah.
This is one of 5 of the largest wind turbines they have spinning here. Generates 3 megawatts of power. Blades are about 144 feet in length. The tower itself, I believe, is something like 280 feet tall. It's probably too soft for this stock microphone to pick up, but we're hearing different types of tweets and twitters than we've heard earlier in the week. This is the Big Morongo Canyon Preserve, and supposedly this is a wetlands, but to look at it, you could be forgiven for not knowing that.
Well, you know it from the size of the trees.
And probably the number of birds that are making sounds. The Morongo Canyon Valley Preserve is not all that far from the windmill market and the place where the windmill tours start and end. We did the tour before doing this hike. It's a bit pricey, but you learn a lot and it's worth it. To say nothing of visiting Windmill Market and the wonderful date shakes they have. Looking down into the Big Morongo Canyon Reserve. Preserve, not sure which it is. Down there, it seems to us must be the wetland, such as it is. It's certainly drier up here. Here we are, back in the wetlands. And you know they have to be wetlands. Well, trees, maybe grass is here. And of course, walking on this boardwalk. I think the name of this trail is just Canyon Trail or Morongo Canyon Trail. Thank you. Yep, that's a low one, all right. I know it's a woodsy area, and all, but a lot of stuff in here seems to be not alive right now. We think we're coming to the end, probably less than 3/4 of a mile to the end, back to the car, if we're where we think we are. There are a lot of trails in this area, including some pretty lengthy ones like the Canyon Trail, which we walked part way on before turning onto the West Canyon Trail, and then Mesquite and other trails. So you can do a lot in here.